Hey, I'm Simone.
And I'm Jess. We're two long-distance best friends who are states away.
But our bond has never been closer. From spirituality to spirited conversations,
We're here to share them with you.
So welcome to Fly Talks.
Come fly with us for a bit. Hello.
Hey, everybody. Hello.
Hey, welcome back to episode 6. How are y'all doing?
Bass, how y'all doing? How y'all feeling? What is it? Ladies, how y'all feeling? Brothers, y'all all right?
Y'all all right?
Shout out to, that's my birthday twin. I don't know if y'all know that, but Erica Badu.
Erica Badu?
Yes.
Oh, you're cool.
Thank
She sold, okay, I have to say something. Remember how she stole that dumb incense that smelled like her nanny?
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that not something I would do?
Yes, that's what I said.
Okay, that was the point of you bringing it up. Okay, cool. Heard. Yes, that's absolutely.
For those who don't know, Erica Badu made incense that smelled like her lady part and sold them, and they are currently sold out. So take that.
Just so you know, there may be some merch. There may be some merch coming out.
Eat. All right, y'all. Let's tap in. All right. So, as you guys know, last week's episode was a very vulnerable one. I think that it was very important for us to just tap into the awareness that our physical and mental health has a lot to do with how we live and how we show up.
Yeah.
This week's episode is going to be about when life is different than you planned, which is so ironic. Because as you can see, there are so many factors that can come out of nowhere and hit you by surprise. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to start off with Simone. We decided to discuss this because as her best friend, something that I know really kind of sits with her is we went to Howard together, right? And I graduated. You did not, which to me doesn't matter at all. But to you, it's always such a heavy thing that weighs on you.
Yeah.
And I just kind of wanted to talk about how you navigated that shift or even how you're navigating it currently.
Yeah. It was definitely difficult for me. So just a little background about my Howard story. I was there for my freshman year.
Yep, sure was. Acting an ass.
Like, wow, every social that was happening on that campus, I was there.
Acting an
ass. Wait, why are you saying? Wait, hold on, pause. Why are you saying I was acting an ass?
Okay, I'm saying this because don't. But she got on a fight on our floor. Okay, so mind you, let me start.
Oh my God, I forgot.
So as close as Simone and I are now, our freshman year we were not. We didn't get close until the end of our freshman year.
Yeah,
we lived on the same hall. So Truth Hall, T-Top, hey y'all.
T-Top don't stop.
T-Top don't stop. So we ended up on two opposite sides of the floor, and they were divided. So basically, I had my friends on the right side. Simone had hers on the left side.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all.
Oh my God. Crazy.
Okay. I'm gonna preface this with we're still spiritual girlies, we've just had lives before this.
We've come a long way. Let's just say that. Very long way.
Yo, there was a brawl on our floor. Simone's ass takes off her shirt. Darts across, and mind you, I don't know her like that. Mm-hmm. All I heard was, yeah, bitch, yada, yada, yada. Took her entire shirt off, jotted down the hall, and literally went to lunge and kill this person.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm like, you seem cool, right? But that is a strange introduction.
That was a bit much.
Well deserved, though. And
it was
well
deserved. Yeah, because they were talking mad shit. They were talking hella shit.
And I'm not saying I don't have nothing against nobody.
Yeah.
I'm
like
saying
water under the bridge at this point.
But looking at it, seeing it, it wasn't like you was wilding. Not at all.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I forgot about that moment, but I definitely was much more, I was much more outspoken, I was ready to fight, I was a fighter kinda girl, and I think I grew up very defensively. Like I was just
Yeah.
defensive a lot just because I'm like just my own
Mm.
insecurities, how people perceived me, me being outspoken. There's a
Mhm.
lot of like layers to me that I was often very defensive about because I was made
Mhm.
fun of for them. And
Mhm.
kind of like, you know, I was ostracized for them essentially. But
Yeah.
so yeah, I was there my freshman year. Actually, it's so funny. Similarly to what you talked about on the last episode about it, like your like depression and kind of like your mindset shifting around that age, I
Mhm.
noticed a shift for me too as well. Like there was a lot of things where I just was like, I want to do all these things, but like I didn't really like have the desire to do them. So I ended up, I mean, candid, right? Because we sharing our stories. You feel me?
Yeah.
I was a part of the theater program at Howard, and in the fine arts school.
Mhm.
I ended up being dismissed from that program because I did not have a high enough academic GPA.
Right.
And so that ended up like affecting the rest of my schooling. And so like my GPA was low, so I ended up not being able to come back that first year.
Mm.
So, well, I actually did go back the second year, my sophomore year, but I ended up going back home. And I was
Mm.
really just upset about it. I was like, I think that's when you and I started getting close. There was another person who we were cool with at the time who started to get close to. So y'all were, I know it's crazy. I know. But y'all were like my people that I kept in mind because I'm like, I have to get back for them. I have to get back for them.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
ended up going to school in LA for a couple of years, getting my academic standing back up at Howard. And then I returned
Mhm.
in 2014, I believe.
Mhm.
And I was so excited. Like my GPA was good. I was in good academic standing. I was like, I'm so excited. I was gonna like join the jazz group. I was gonna join the gospel choir. Like I just felt really
Mhm.
excited to be there when I returned. But unfortunately, like my family just couldn't afford it. So I ended up just not going back.
Mhm.
And I guess the thing that really makes me well has made me and still in a lot of ways continues to make me sad is that I had so many things that I wanted to do there. I had
Mhm.
like an entire plan of what I thought my life was going to be, being a a Howard graduate. I had a community of friends there who like I loved and was getting closer
Mhm.
to. And so the fact that I wasn't able to follow through on that really like it disappointed me. And I think even every time like Jess gets so annoyed every time I reference Howard and I'm like, well, I didn't graduate. She's like, why do you keep fucking saying that? And it's because I think there's a level of shame there because
Mhm.
I still don't have a college degree. And so, and being that I love to learn and education and things like that, it feels like there's like this question mark when it comes to my educational path. But I can also recognize that like this is the life I was meant to live according to
Mhm.
what God had planned for me. Like, who knows where I would have been, but what I do know now is that this journey is not by happenstance. And though
Mhm.
there are still some unresolved feelings I have about it that I'm working through, I can still like see that this is all a part of God's plan, you know?
It's just so funny because when they say like, when they say like, I wish you can see yourself through somebody else's eyes or my
Yeah.
eyes.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, and I'm sure you know this, or maybe you don't, but we were almost in opposite spaces because for me,
Mhm.
when I graduated, I ended up kind of wanting to be more so less in academia and more so social media, writing,
Mm.
podcast, everything I'm doing now. So
Yeah.
that was what I wanted, and you were doing all of it. So it's like it's funny that when you look at something, like every time you would be like, "But I didn't do this." I'm like, "Simone, you have X amount of followers, you have
Yeah.
this amount of impact, you have and you're so smart that education one doesn't come from paper. That's one. But two, when you speak, it's evident. It's not debatable of whether or not you're an intelligent person. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's just not. And to know you is to know that. So it's just funny to I know that like when we're young, and not even just when we're young, as we age too, because the standard changes, wife, kids, everything has this timeline. But I saw everything you were doing and you saw
Mm.
everything you were not. And I
Ooh,
think
yeah.
that's common. You know, I always tell Simone, like, celebrate your wins. Like, no matter how big it is, because she wanted that piece so bad, I don't think it allowed you for a long time to like clap when you land, like they say. Like, there were things like Simone would be like, yeah, I just got this brand deal. Anyway, and I'll be like, wait,
Pause. Wait a minute.
pause. There's people who want to be where you are. And it's funny because it kind of
Mm.
reminds me of our first conversation when I was talking about being an educator. And in the same vein, people are in school for that right now, right?
Right, right.
So it's like it's a what you do is desired by somebody else, one, but also when you end up somewhere that almost seems random, it has to be God. There's no like coincidences, you know?
Yeah, no, that's such a good point. There's something that you said that really resonated with me.
Want me to
Oh
keep
yes, I think it's about the the things that I haven't done versus what I have done. I think part of that is the certain mindsets that have been ingrained in me of like college equals success, like a degree
Mhm.
equals success, and a lot of things that I grew up believing were kind of like core values that were just solidified for me. And so even though I do recognize the success that I have
Mhm.
had that isn't, traditional,
Mhm.
there's still that part of me that feels like I have to appease that aspect of myself.
Mhm.
Um and I think on this journey recently I really have recognized that, like what you said, these random things that happen, these random moments of like realizing where you are, that is God.
Mhm. Mhm.
That is God's presence, that is God's direction in your life, and, like, I am recognizing that now, like, my I guess a little background about, like, my goals in school. So like I said, I was in the theater program at Howard, and so, like, I love acting. Part of my, career path is to be an actor, and one of the reasons why I low key, like, stopped trying
Mm.
in my theater classes was because I was like, "Well, I don't just wanna have a B of A, like, I don't just wanna have a Bachelor of Fine
Mm.
Arts. I don't wanna just, like, be stuck in this loop, like, I still wanna be, like, within that academia space where I'm still learning beyond that."
Mm.
And so, like, kind of fast forward to where I am now, I still recognize I have that level of diversity.
Mhm.
And now that I don't have that traditional scope kind of keeping me in, it's like now I recognize I can create the life that I want. So I still want to act, but I also want to, what I'm saying, inspire and teach and lead. And I also want to travel and, what I'm saying, share my story. And so it's like that little moment, it's like all it took was just some redirection to be like, okay, you can still have this mindset, but just shift it a little bit. Like shift your perspective. And I'm still working on shifting my perspective, honestly.
I've just been smiling because the whole time I've just been hearing like, you could have it all, just not in that order.
Yeah.
Like college is there, you know what I'm saying? Like, and not to minimize the lack of experience
Yeah.
and how it feels at that age, but the same way I graduated. I'm like, I'm gonna have a podcast straight out the jump. I have journals since graduation, 2011,
Mm,
saying that
mm.
this right here is what I wanted. And
Wow.
I've attempted it and I've tried it, failed, tried, fail. And when it comes to what I'm seeing you go through is like, you're going to be so successful. They're going to turn around and give you an honorary degree, even though you want to earn one.
Jessica, why
So,
is that literally something that I've thought about? I'm like, I feel like I'm gonna get, and on top of that, like, I'm not gonna lie, this is really random. And I've never really
mhm,
been into Greek life or anything, but I
mhm.
know for a fact I'm gonna be an honorary something. I don't know which one yet, but it's giving. But you're so right.
There's so many ways to
So true.
accomplish these things, and I think God lets us learn in the order that we can handle.
Yeah.
So it's almost like I know for me with this podcast, I was more ambitious than experienced. And
Mm.
I think for me, I didn't have the level of life. Like we talked about mental health. I was going through all of those things. And in the midst of it, I was like, okay, this is when you help people. It's like you have to go through it first. It took me years to go through it because I
Mm.
thought I was a teacher, you know? And you live, you learn, you fall, you get back up. And then God said, okay, now you can put something into the world because not only do you know your strength comes from me and it's not something that's of the world, it's also you are mature enough to speak to things that make sense, not because you want to hear your own voice, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think too, like, I think we have to, like, just hearing your mindset on it. I think there's also a lesson in like striking before the iron's hot. You know, so
Mm,
you put it right on the fire. You're like, okay, well, it's time. Like it's hot enough, and it's like, no, you have to let it heat internally. You have to get it all the way through, so that when that iron strikes, it actually hits. You know, and it
mm,
makes that cut. So, you know, I think one of the lessons is like patience and really
mm,
trusting the process. And I think it's obviously hindsight 2020, better, easier said than done. um, but like looking back on life, I think one of the beautiful aspects of like maturity and like trusting God and knowing God exists in your life and trusting, that presence is that you can look back and you can still learn from those lessons,
mhm,
So it's not so far gone where it's just in your past, you have no control of it. It's like you can look back and be like, oh, that's what you were trying to say.
mhm,
You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
I wasn't meant to be at Howard. I just wasn't meant to be there. And
mhm.
that's okay. I mean, if
Yeah.
anything, I was different than everybody there anyway.
You were
Like
and
I really was, Jessica. Like I did not fit
no.
in for real.
But that's oh my goodness. I want to cry just thinking about it because as someone who loves you, when I see you hurt, I hurt, right?
Mhm.
So when I see that kind of disappointment in yourself, but all I see is the like opportunities and the vastness, just everything that you're capable of and everything that's coming to you. Like it, and that's
Yeah,
the thing about having friendships and people you love is like you can see it for them, you can't see it for yourself. So
right.
that's why God like allows you to love other people, I think, because I'm like, you're gonna be successful, you're gonna be an actress, you're only 31, like all of these things.
Yeah.
And when I look in the mirror, I'm just like, okay, why didn't you do this yet? Why? And then here goes the same thing you would tell me. You're only
Mhm.
30. This is happening now. We're in it now.
Yeah.
So I think it's also hard to sit in your blessings because you are looking at the final, like,
Yes. Too
you get what I'm
zoomed out.
saying?
You're too
Yes.
zoomed out.
You're too zoomed out versus
Yeah.
saying, like, damn, like for me personally, I'm a writer, want to be signed by a publishing company, et cetera, et cetera. But if God were to give me that first, right, wouldn't have the passion to do this. It's the order that He does things in that it's hard for us to understand, but it's also very logical when you look at it from the outside
Yeah.
looking in. Because for you, I'm obviously like you were meant to have an association, one with me, obviously,
Obviously.
two with Howard as a thing in general.
Yeah.
Fine art, are you serious? Like and then it's also like the thing that is easy to hear as well is why you left isn't because you weren't capable. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like these are factors that are outside of your control. Everyone
Mhm.
failed first freshman year. I failed freshman year.
Right.
So that wasn't
Not
it.
easy.
This
Yeah.
was getting pregnant.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
gone. Like everybody,
It
we
was
was
it was rough.
partying, failing. That wasn't a you thing.
Mm.
Earned it, worked your way back up, couldn't afford it, not a you thing. So I think we correlate these things with our abilities and our identities versus it didn't pan out. That doesn't mean I'm not capable. I got accepted here, one.
Right.
Two, I flourished here, two. Three, I could, man, you could get whatever degree you wanted because that's how smart you are.
Yeah.
Wasn't supposed to be. And you have a whole life ahead of you. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. Yeah. And I didn't realize because there's a lot of times people say like don't let your past define you. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm more worried about the future than the past. And granted, yeah, that is partially true. But
Mhm.
also what is true as well is that that is something that has stopped me from moving forward because I
Mhm.
often go there. And then when you're stuck in the past, is there's so many what ifs of like what could have been, what could have been, what could have been. But what really helps to soothe that is recognizing that what could have been didn't happen. And you
Mhm.
why are we stressing on what already happened?
Mhm.
It didn't happen. What happened already did happen. We can't keep reliving that because then we're getting ourselves stuck in a cycle. And that's not
Mhm.
doing us any service. It minimizes our abilities and our talents and we're not using them in places where God wants us to use them. We're
Yeah.
getting stuck in that cycle.
And it discounts what we did in that time that we didn't want to do it. Like, I don't know if that makes sense, but like, if you think of the parallel when you should have been in school, according to what you envisioned, what did you do instead?
Well, I was working.
Mhm.
I worked a job. I was also taking
Mhm.
classes
Mhm.
at another school.
Mhm.
Um yeah,
Valuable things.
yeah, valuable things, life skills. And I think that is also like not talked about I think at that age as well. I think like the life skills that you learn between 18 and 22 are just as valuable as the education. And if anything, like there's life skills that you can develop that, you know, I don't want to say supersede education, but I think it's a form of education within itself. It's just not traditional academia.
Mhm.
So you
Mhm.
can't completely just dismiss those because you weren't in school. Like,
I always say and think that like, and I think a lot of people in college, I think unless you're really in your career field that you studied for, I don't want to minimize that. But
yeah.
I didn't retain information, I retained experiences.
Yes.
And it's like I'm a psych major. I retained information. I'm very naturally inclined to understand the mind. But what made me understand the most is experiences and having relationships with people and experiencing the range of emotions that people have that I have. And
Yeah.
there were so many things that I remember Ta-Nehisi Coates. He came and he's like one of my heroes because he's a Howard graduate and he's an like very well established author. And when he came to school, I didn't even know him. Was the craziest
Mm,
part. I learned about him after, but he came to speak and he said he was a C student. I never forget the speech. He said he was a C student. He wasn't anything spectacular
mm.
academically, not like as
Yeah.
a person, but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
academically, it wasn't anything that stood out. He kind of coasted, but he saw. You know what I'm saying? Like he
Mm,
observed. And as a writer, that's what we do. We write about our experiences as an actress, as an artist. You feed off of things you have experienced. So even that doubt
yeah.
you can pull when you need it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it really helped me because it just really made me understand, kind of similar to what you said, it's not where you are, it's what you're learning. You know what I mean? And like to be able to see like maybe you working that was your time for you to learn work ethic. Maybe you like whatever it is, high school is a box that's safe.
Mm.
The real world teaches you after, and it doesn't have to be in a certain location, you know?
Yeah. No, that's so true. I think we live in a society that focuses so much on our accolades and our accomplishments that are more tangible and
Mhm.
have like a plaque to it or something that you can give someone. Um,
Mhm.
instead of like what is actually happening in real time. Like those are things that, like you said, you pull from. And I love what you said, Ta-Nehisi Coates said in his
Mhm.
speech about,
Mhm.
he coasted, but he saw. I think that is so beautiful because I think that level of just ambition and having a vision, and I think we said
Mhm.
this I love the fact that we're getting to the point where it's like what we said in our last episode was like
Yeah.
we building up a
They
catalog
racking
now.
up.
To wrap it up.
Yeah.
But the visions that God places in our lives are for a reason. They don't
Mm.
have to be completed as soon as they're put into our minds, but they are meant to keep us focused. Like that is a tunnel vision we have to have is like, okay, this is the grander scheme of things, you know,
Mhm.
this is the empire I'm aspiring to build. How can I take actionable steps on a daily basis that will grow towards that? And I'm actually involved in a like, this is like woo woo, very woo woo, but there is this like group of women. By the way, shouts out to um Goddess Life Ministries. This
Period.
is one of an amazing spiritual leader that I have been following, and she's like so real, so down to earth, and she
Mm.
talks about like quantum leaping into your like delusional reality.
Mm.
And so part of that, part of like the workshop and the assignments that she has us do is like we are writing out the person that we are aspiring to be. The
Mm.
the 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 daily schedule, the job that they're doing, their leisure, their work life, their, you know,
Mm.
their family, like literally like kind of mapping it out of like what we desire to be. And like each day we're taking those active steps towards that, like, and
Mhm.
taking our time with it. And so, like, the fact that we're writing it out is that vision that we have for ourselves, is what we desire. But
Mm.
we don't have to look at it and like, you need to be that today. And if you're not that today, then success isn't going to happen for you. We understand, of course, that it's a gradual, like, it's a gradual adjustment, and that, you know, it's not easy for you to shift from one version of yourself to the next. Like, if it was that easy, we'd all be doing it. You feel me? And I think we'd all be in different spots in our lives. But, um, there's power in the vision. There's power
Mm.
in the ambition and the desire. There's a
Mhm.
power in just having the feeling that you want to be better. You know, so if you just keep that feeling in mind, like every step will be purposeful.
And it becomes clearer as you walk, right?
Yeah.
So like since I was young, and me and Simone and I, huh,
Yeah.
have we talked similarly about kind of what we want from this, and this is probably going to be a manifestation episode.
Mhm.
We had talked about like a show. We had talked about like just these things that I think I've always seen for myself. I didn't know the who, I didn't know the what, I didn't know how.
Mhm.
I knew I was involved, but since I was young, you could ask my dad. I wanted to be a TV therapist. That's all I wanted to do. I used to watch,
Wow.
yeah, I used to watch. I wanted to be like Dr. Phil. There was a point where I wanted to be like Tyra, but that, no. Then
Yikes.
there was a point,
Not a great
no,
aspiration.
no, 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 no.
You learned it.
Hindsight,
You
hindsight,
learned. Okay.
hindsight. But I really wanted to be Dr. Jen. So there was this show.
I love Dr.
I
Jen.
love Dr. Jen, and she had it was like a what was it called? Marriage therapy. It's not coming to my brain, but it was on VH1, and it was couples therapy. Couples
Couples
therapy.
therapy. Yes.
Couples therapy. I loved her. And it makes sense. I went to school for psychology. Always wanted to understand. And I always wanted to be a marriage therapist first. That's what I wanted to do. And
Mhm.
I kept telling myself, I'm like, who's gonna listen to somebody, one, who's not married, two, who's like 22 coming out of college? Like, you're not, you don't
Yeah,
know
it's not
nothing.
realistic.
And it kept changing. By the time I graduated, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Then I fell in love with writing. I've always loved writing, but I didn't know where that would take me necessarily. So while everybody was getting dream jobs that were attached to what they knew they wanted, I didn't know what I wanted. So even in the midst of that time, it's like I could have had, if you asked me, you could have everything. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
So there's also that time that you gain like clarity. That's very important because, like you said, the goal, when you zoom out, it's huge, but it also has time to shift. Like,
Yes.
it has that foundation, but it's like Simone always wanted to be an actress, always wanted to sing. The more you get into that, it's like, okay, I want to be an actress that makes this. I don't want to just be in anything. I want to make this because my life experience has taught me this is underrepresented. So I want to
Mm.
be this voice. You have to live in order to figure out, okay, the dream is big, but where do I fit in? You know?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just think that's so powerful.
Man, that is really powerful.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us, we don't allow ourselves to shift because we are often surrounded by people or environments that confine us.
Mm-hmm.
That I actually was just talking to Jess about this before we even started. There's a YouTuber that I have been following recently. Her name is Ayanda Stood, and she was talking
Mm,
about like the art of being like a multi hyphenate and being multifaceted and having different interests and like allowing your vision to change and shift based on what you're going through.
mhm,
Um, and I think there isn't a one track to anything.
mm-mm.
And I also think there are parts of your life that are reserved for certain things. Like, to be honest, like acting isn't really my focus right now, but that doesn't mean it won't ever be because that was placed on my heart. That was
Mhm.
placed in my mind. I still love it. I still love
Yeah.
everything about it, but it's just not where I am right now. But that I guess giving yourself time to separate from what you thought you wanted
Ooh,
makes space for revelations of what you can be.
because ooh.
Yeah.
Okay, so this reminded me. I remember my mom telling me to not be so attached to the word writer because it
Mm,
encompassed like I'm a writer, I'm a writer, I'm a writer. I'm on a podcast right now, right? Which would make me a podcaster.
right.
I have the ability to write, which makes me somebody with that also gives me the writing hat. I'm also a writer. But when you're so committed, like you said, to like this version of how you see something, you have so many gifts. And especially, I think people, it's not to limit anybody, but when you have a creative mind or an
Yeah.
artsy mind, there's so much that it's like there's like 10 things you can do, and God is just literally trying to get you to do them in the order that they make sense.
Yes.
you know so it's like I've realized that too. I'm like, okay, I wanted to go straight from school, then I wanted to write. No, baby, you had to live first, you had to
Yeah.
teach first. That's why he gave you this profession. Then based off of our last episode, you had to go through hell and back. Then you know what I'm saying? And I think like my therapist was telling me, I have her on Wednesdays, and she was telling me like the 80-year-old woman that is happy doesn't have regrets because she did everything. And she was like, I always want you to think about that 80-year-old woman. And when I think about it now, if I had everything at 25, what the fuck would I be doing from 25 to 80?
I'm
You get what
saying.
I'm saying? Like,
I'm saying.
what would you learn? What wisdom would you have acquired?
Uh,
What how would you have developed if you had everything that you wanted? You
mm,
know?
yeah, that is so true. I think there's obviously lessons in everything. Um, I think sitting in the dis-ease of not having anything is really healing
Ooh.
because you can it gives you something to I think it gives you something to aspire to. I think we
Mhm.
often like we characterize that dis-ease as like a level of disappointment,
Mhm.
right? It's like, oh,
Mhm.
I haven't done it yet. Like I don't have all these things. So like, damn, where's my life going?
Mm.
Um, and one thing I have learned, like, I guess additionally to that point, is that I don't know if I said this before, but where we are now is a manifestation of where we were.
Mhm.
So we can't hope for things in the future and then expect them now. We have to give it time to develop. And
Mhm.
I think sitting in that dis-ease is like, okay, it hasn't developed yet, but I have that desire, and only time will tell.
Mhm.
You know, I think shifting your perspective about what is possible and your association with those negative and, uncomfortable feelings, I think kind of primes you and sets you up for success. Because I think if you're like, oh, I really want this, but I don't have it now, damn it, like, where can I go from here? I think you're kind of keeping yourself in this low feeling of
Mhm.
like it'll never happen, or like, oh, it has to be so hard. It's so difficult. Why
Mhm.
can't this happen? Why hasn't it happened for me yet? But I think if you like maintain a one thing I'm recognizing is that this process is we're supposed to have fun with it. It's supposed to be enjoyable. You said in
Mm.
the last episode, we were not meant to suffer. God does not want us to suffer. And I think
Mm-mm.
that's just our human mind, our logic is like, okay, A plus B equals C. So when you have A plus 105 equals peanut, you're like, there's no
Peanut!
way this makes sense.
Peanut is crazy. A plus B equals peanut. That's something my kids would say. And they're like, can I
Exactly.
get 100, Miss H? No,
Yeah.
you got a
No.
zero. What are you
Exactly.
talking
No.
about?
But God's like, actually, let me give y'all separate definitions of what each of these things mean, which is why this is this. So it's like, I don't know,
Mm.
keeping that levity.
Talking about having fun, it just brought me back. I had a conversation with my cousin. Her name is Nicole. She's actually a blogger
Hi, Nicole.
herself, and I want to give her right information. So let me
Yeah.
make sure
Yeah,
because
we're gonna make sure. Shout out, by the way, a little plug. We're
oh,
gonna start having people email us, and we're gonna start featuring certain brands. So y'all, if you're listening and you would like a shout out, do
yes,
us a favor, email us at flytalkspodcast@gmail.com. We're gonna pick
absolutely.
some people and start doing little promos, y'all.
You
So
know,
keep listening. You might be featured.
I love it. She so I remember talking to her. So she's married. She got married I want to say 2 years ago. I'm probably incorrect. But at the
Mhm.
time I was dating and I was talking to her and I'm just like, damn, like it must feel really good to be married. I think she might have been engaged at the time. But she was like, enjoy your singlehood. And I tell Shannon this
Mm.
all the time because she's like, when you look at the big scope of your life, what do you live till 100? You're going to be with that man till the day you die.
Oof.
And so many of us want it and we crave it. And it's not that it's valid. You're supposed to want these things. But I think what she said really stuck with me because she was talking about those in between times of really still taking advantage of your independence, one,
Yeah.
taking advantage of the fact that you're only accountable for yourself, two, taking advantage of the fact that you are just present. And even when you think about your age and your time, and this is the only time you will be 30, you
Yeah.
31, whatever, wherever you are, this is the only time you'll be 60. Like,
Yep.
this is a rarity that will leave. So it's like we spend all of this time trying to be somewhere else, which doesn't negate the
Mm.
fact you have to prepare for the future. But all of those things don't have to happen in a year because what about next year? Like
Right.
they have to be divided. Let me so her her Instagram is the Nicole Webb McKnight.
Mm.
And her personal blog is the Rib Life Journey. So yeah, do with that as you like. But I come
Yes.
from a lineage of intelligent and helpful people, and my cousin Britt Brat. Everybody is
Yeah.
just I'm surrounded by very intelligent people, so I thank God for that.
Yeah.
Proceed. Sorry.
No, no, no. I think yeah, you bring up a great point about like honoring the present
Mhm.
moment. And I feel like we hear that so often,
Mhm.
but I mean that could be as simple as like just taking a deep breath wherever you are
Mhm.
and just like
Mhm.
grounding yourself. Like just being like how do I
Mhm.
feel right now? Like
Mhm.
that right there is honoring your present moment, your present mind, your present body. It helps you to kind of stay regulated. Because like we're often our minds are moving faster than our bodies a lot of the time. You
Mhm.
know, we have a lot of goals and plans and ideals of what we're, you know what I'm saying? We got a lot of us got calendars planned out to the next year. So it's like it's really hard to sit and be present. But I really think I'm recognizing like as much as I feel like I can do everything without like superhumanly in a way,
Mhm.
we all need that break to like just to feel and be
Mhm.
exactly as we are right now. And I think that also helps us to make peace with the future and the past. You
Mhm.
know, you're able to say, okay, that already happened. Okay,
Mhm.
that's okay. This hasn't happened yet. And that's okay. If
Mhm.
anything, to be honest, in this present moment, I have nothing to worry about because the future is the
Yeah.
future and the past is the past.
Where you're standing at, you're okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you're okay.
Yeah.
You're okay. That reminds me of this is just gonna be plug city, but of
Period.
myself, I have my own blog called Let It. Oh no, it's not for girls who become women. It used to be
Period.
Let It Go, Jess.
Yeah.
But I was writing, and it was basically about this experience of like feeling overwhelmed, and I had said something along the lines of like, God didn't promise you that you'd be comfortable. He promised you that you'd be okay. And
Ooh.
I think that is something that's starting to resonate more, which is like, okay, you can look around, I'm okay, like I'm okay. That and you were saying the last episode, like Jess often says I'm okay.
Mhm.
It's because it's something I tell myself because it's like it's so easy to be wrapped up in what you don't have or where you're not, where it's like you're literally okay. Like
Yeah.
it's okay. And I don't know. I just think it's such a powerful place to be in. And it's also not lost on me that God needs to be acknowledged and needed.
Yeah.
So if our human and our humanity were able to do all of these things without needing him throughout the course of this life, we wouldn't show up the same way. We wouldn't have
Yeah.
testimonies because we
Yeah.
got it on our own. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Very true. I think on top of, oh my God, that was weird. I think
That
on
was me.
top of, did you hear that? Oh, that was you or
It was
me?
me. It was
Why did
my
it feel
throat.
like that was in my body? I
It
was
was
like,
my
that's
throat.
in
I'm sorry.
what? No, it was fine. I think I just had a moment of like
Huh?
my empath came out. I'm like, why do I feel that? That was crazy. Um, but
Girl.
I I think on top of like to say that you're okay doesn't negate that like things are happening in real time either. Like it's not to be like because I don't when I like one thing I don't like that a lot of people do is like when you're saying something and they're like, you're it's okay, you'll be fine, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. It's not to push that narrative because it's very different. It's more so like, okay, this is how I feel in the present moment. However, I'm
Mhm,
going to
mhm.
be okay.
Yeah.
God don't want me to suffer. I have my success and my happiness is my birthright. It's what God wants for me. This moment does not define how my life is going to be. And I think I struggle rough very often. I struggle very often with anxiety. And
Mhm.
so like those feelings of discomfort feel so crazy that it feels like an emergency where I'm
Mm.
like, "Oh my god, like something is wrong here." Like,
Mhm,
and I mean, now that I know, well, at this point, I know the psychology of anxiety. It's an
mhm,
adrenaline rush and you're in fight or flight mode. So you're like,
mhm,
there's something to either fight or I have to run. Like that is
mhm,
literally what anxiety is.
mhm,
Um, and granted, like, of course, there are like medical ways to address that, but also part of anxiety management is mindfulness. And so, you have to remind yourself, like, okay, how are you feeling right now? You are
mhm,
okay.
mhm,
This is a signal that this is a mental signal. It may be from like from some type of stimulus. It may be from a circumstance, whatever it is. But
mhm.
take a deep breath, ground yourself. How do you feel in this moment? You are
Right.
okay. Like think
Yeah.
about the reality of the scenario and don't get so caught up in like, I don't want to say don't get so caught up, but it's just a reminder to not get caught up in how you feel because sometimes that's a trickster spirit.
Yep. I remember making this background, because I saw it on Pinterest and it said, "Be where your feet are." And if
Mm,
you're not in that, it sounds weird. But
yeah.
when you're in it, I'm
Ooh,
like, "Yeah, right?
because wow.
Yeah, yeah." And I put it as my lock screen for like a month because I've been trying to get out of the same place I've been trying to get out of for like the past 5 years.
Yeah.
Be where your feet are,
Be where your feet are.
enjoy your experience,
Wow.
and yeah, it's so like
That's
it
good.
literally was like, yeah, it changed my life because I was just like, look down, literally in
Yeah,
real time.
because
Look
it really has you snap out of here
down. Mhm.
in your mind, and it gets you in your feet and in your body.
Yep.
Wow, that
Yep.
is so good.
It was so good.
Yeah, I'm so glad that
Mhm.
you shared that. That's gonna be a reminder for me. It's gonna be a
You
good
now I
reminder.
know it is because 'cause you're like
Exactly.
a grounded mommy.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what's so interesting with how grounded I can be. That's what
Mhm.
reminds me that, like, my anxiety, um is tricking me to believe that something's wrong when it isn't. And on top of that, like
Mhm.
another layer, because you'd mentioned it too, you said God didn't say you weren't going to be comfortable. He just said you're going to be okay. Sometimes you're going to be uncomfortable. Sometimes in life, you're not going to be like, you're,
Yeah.
it's not going to feel the best. Like that is also, that's growing pains. That's transition. That's
Yeah.
getting out of, old, that's moving from old patterns into new. So like, just because you're uncomfortable doesn't mean there's something to like run from.
It's
you
building
know?
faith. It's
Yes,
building faith.
it's
It's
building.
literally building faith. Yeah. You get knocked down and you're like, damn, that humbleness kind of hits you and you're just like, God, I need you.
Yeah.
Like there's always a point where he will allow you to realize you are not as big as you think you are. You're capable. You're
Mhm.
my vessel, but I am ultimately in charge of this and how I see your
Yeah.
life playing
Yeah.
out. So I think that there are moments in life where we kind of need to, it's just reminding me of my own desires and dreams where it's like I would have graduated from Howard, let it have my way. And the same way I'm telling you, like it's just a paper. I would have thought it was the paper that knew everything. I would have got on a microphone. I'd be like, this is my degree in psychology. I know this. I know. And it's like, you have not lived, girl. You are at the ripe age of not even 20.
Right.
You have to live before, especially when you're meant for something great.
Mm.
You have to take in things because your voice is going to be that powerful that he allows you to learn and he allows you to grow before you become somebody who teaches is what I'm learning,
Yeah. No, that's
you
so
know?
true. It's
Yeah.
interesting, like, the thing that comes to mind for me is that I've always said, "I'm gonna be famous."
Yep.
And
Yep. It's
I
true.
literally I literally have been saying that for so long. There's a video I showed Jess. I have my
Mhm.
external drive, and I have all these videos from Howard of me
Yep.
just chatting, videos, whatever, and there's a video like, "I'm from Los Angeles, and I'm gonna be famous, so it's fine," right?
It's true.
And granted, not I'm literally on my way, that's nuts in the head, bro, like, wow.
Woo.
But it's like but also I think it's because I lived that I'm here where I am now.
Mhm.
I gave
Mhm.
my like my path was to experience life, and my experiences in life are what have helped me to inspire the people that do, follow along with me and support me and like want to hear me speak. Like they see the value of my experiences, and that's because God put me on this path. Like this is not by happenstance. I literally 46, 46.
Mm.
The recording literally said 46, 46 right when I said that. So I need to look up what 46 means. I might actually grab my book
Yeah.
so I can read it to y'all. But it's not by happenstance. And like the
Mm-mm.
more I live and recognize and just see the trajectory and like what I'm just like what is on my plate and what God wants me to accomplish, like I'm making peace with that more and more. I really,
Mm.
literally am. I'm gonna actually pause my camera because I have on a short dress, but I have to get my
You
book.
gonna get this book, y'all. Go
I
ahead.
am. Hold on. Go ahead.
Grab it, sister. Hey, y'all. What's tea?
Grab it.
It's it's lonely because she's not here.
Oh my
What
God.
to do?
Just the
Just
time.
wait, she's coming back.
I'm coming back, guys.
4,
I'm coming
3,
back. Oh shit.
level up.
All right, we're here. Hi everybody, it's me, Simone.
Okay.
My name is Simone, by the way. I don't know if you guys knew that.
Girl, if you don't turn this camera
I just wanted to make sure they knew that. All right, 46. So, okay, by the way, for those who are not watching, I mean, who are listening,
Mhm.
I have a book called The Angel Numbers Book, and I'm a numbers girl.
Yes.
So, it's called The Angel Numbers Book, How to Understand the Messages Your Spirit Guides Are Sending You. So, on the recording, it said 46, 46, and so that to me is a sign to read the number. So, I'm going to read 46. The prize. Don't lose sight of what's important. Your angels validate that distractions in the material world can produce disconnect from self and spirit. Show the
Mm.
universe you know where your priorities lie today by doing something that keeps your eyes on the prize.
Hmm.
Interesting. So, I guess the point of this episode was that the journey is much more impactful than the destination. The story, the overall vision, is what we have to be mindful of and how we live our lives. We have to make sure that we're living our lives according to the vision. That doesn't mean perfection, Why are you smiling like that? What the heck?
Okay, y'all, please. Okay. Have you ever seen that Tisha Campbell singing that I'm Still Here? Have you ever seen?
I'm
She said the beginning was "It's the journey," and then
yes.
she started singing so the whole time.
Oh my God.
I
Listen.
couldn't get it out.
Have
Okay,
y'all
I'm sorry. I'm done.
No, it's fine, but I really think she ate that song, and I really think people need to give her her flowers. No,
Huh?
no. That song. Why people hate on Tisha Campbell so bad? Like I rock
Simone,
with her.
I rock with her for other reasons, not for that. not for that performance or
Oh,
her.
I'm sorry. I
That
guess I'm
was
a fan.
insane. Life is like a
I,
roller coaster.
no.
The
Maybe
lyrics
because
were nice.
the lyric that's what I'm saying. The lyrics were great. The performance, you know what I'm saying? Sure, but the lyrics are actually really inspirational. She's still here. Like
She should have wrote
I'm
that in a no. She should have wrote that in a book. It would have been very nice to read as a poem, but as a
When she was
performance.
dancing too, it was like, I said,
That's what made it so. Okay, y'all. For anybody who's never seen it, please look up Tisha Campbell. I'm Still Here.
I'm still here.
It is the fun. It's funny, y'all. But yeah,
Maybe
the reason I
because
was laughing while you were talking or trying to hold it was because all I heard was "It's the journey."
yeah,
That's all I heard.
period. But
But
the
it is.
the the lesson is keep your eyes on the prize, y'all. It may not feel good. It
Mm-hmm.
may be uncomfortable. You may be really there's thousands of disappointments that come along our path. However, remember the goal, the vision that God placed on your life. Remember the desires you have to make that come true. Keep that at the center of your
Yes.
heart, of your mind, and of your spirit. Like
Yes.
there are so many moments where we will feel upset and low. But even when you honor those moments,
Mm-hmm.
keep your priorities centered in check, mama.
Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Episode 6 is a wrap. I'm Simone.
And I'm Jess, and you are watching Fly Talks.
Watching Fly Talks. Fly Talks.
Fly away. Bye, y'all.
Bye.